I do poke people in the eyes, and it's very illegal, but I do it.
As fans of MMA, we all want a fair sport, but because of its competitive nature, fighters will often seek out every opportunity to gain an advantage over their opponent. Sometimes that advantage can simply come in the form of natural talent. However, in a few rare cases, it can also come in the form of cheating. So for this video, we'll be taking a look at a list of times where fighters took things one step too far and actually cheated in order to gain an advantage during a fight. As always, if you guys enjoy this video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Also, just a quick disclaimer, we won't be going over instances where a fighter was caught using steroids or any kind of performance enhancer, since we covered that in another video. Now, without further ado, and ranked in no particular order, let's take a look at 10 times fighters cheated in MMA. Number 10. Yoel Romero vs Tim Kennedy. UFC middleweight Yoel Romero is no stranger to controversy, and his fight with Tim Kennedy at UFC 178 was no exception. While Romero had won the first round of their fight, Kennedy began making his comeback in the second. With just seconds left in the second round, Tim Kennedy had Yoel Romero very close to being knocked out. Fortunately though for Romero, he was saved by the bell. Unfortunately for Tim Kennedy, Romero cheated in order to recover. For well over a minute, Romero sat on his stool and refused to get up, giving himself plenty of extra time to gain his wits back. While part of the reason was no doubt due to Romero being hurt, another part seemed to be due to Romero's corner stalling for him. This was clearly against the rules, and a refusal to get up at the correct time should have possibly ended the fight in favour of Kennedy. But finally, after spending almost 30 extra seconds on his stool, Romero finally stood up ready to go. Romero then proceeded to knock out Tim Kennedy in what was a highly controversial win. Although Tim Kennedy could also be seen violating the rules, as he was spotted grabbing Romero's glove at one point. So when all said and done, neither fighter's hands were completely clean in this one. Number 9. Michael Bisping vs Jorge Rivera. The build-up between Michael Bisping and Jorge Rivera for UFC 127 saw plenty of controversial moments, and as it turned out, their fight was filled with several controversial moments as well. About midway through round 1, Bisping landed a knee to the head of Jorge, a move that's illegal when an opponent is down on their knees, and Jorge was clearly down on his knees, but Bisping threw the illegal strike anyway. Bisping received a point deduction, but that damage had already been done. He then went on to earn a second round TKO shortly after injuring Rivera. While Bisping did appear to be controlling the fight, you have to wonder just how much Rivera was affected by the knee. To make matters worse, Bisping then appeared to spit at Rivera's cornermen, although Bisping claims he was just spitting at the ground. Number 8. Jose Aldo vs Chad Mendes 1. In 2012, the undefeated Chad Mendes was set to take on the featherweight champion Jose Aldo in the main event of UFC 142. With Chad being a powerful and aggressive wrestler, the plan was obviously to use some of that wrestling experience to put Aldo on his back. As Mendes tried to take Aldo down in round 1, Aldo could be seen grabbing the fence to prevent the takedown from being completed. What made the situation even worse was not only the unsuccessful takedown for Mendes, but the fact that Aldo knocked out Chad with a knee just a few moments later. Had Chad been able to secure the takedown, perhaps the fight would have ended a little differently. Number 7. Jon Jones versus, well, pretty much everyone. Jon Jones is one of the most gifted mixed martial artists of all time. There's really no denying that. But some of his wins have not been without a bit of controversy. And we aren't just talking about his steroid use. As I'm sure most of you know, Jon Jones has made somewhat of a reputation for poking his opponents in the eyes. So much so in fact that he's been warned several times by officials for extending his fingers. Although Jon Jones has defended the tactic, claiming he stretches his arms out to measure the distance and push his opponent away. But truthfully speaking, it's hard to give him the benefit of the doubt given that it's resulted in many grueling eye pokes. And after so many infractions, it eventually gets to a point where you can no longer call it an accident. Number 6. BRYAN CARAWAY vs ERIK PEREZ. In 2014, BRYAN CARAWAY took on fellow bantamweight ERIK PEREZ at UFC Fight Night 42. A few minutes into round 2, BRYAN CARAWAY was declared the winner by rear naked choke. Although the end of the fight showed what looked like a clean finish to the viewers, a look back at round 1 showed Bryan CARAWAY applying an illegal move called a fishhook to his opponent, inserting his fingers into PEREZ's mouth in order to set up a submission. Although the fishhook didn't likely alter the fight since it was applied in round 1 instead of round 2, there's no denying it certainly gave an unfair advantage to CARAWAY. Although he apologised shortly after for the fishhook, claiming it was unintentional, the damage had already been done. Number 5. URIJAH FABER vs Francisco Rivera. URIJAH FABER is someone who's a specialist when it comes to submissions, but at UFC 181, his submission against Francisco Rivera didn't come without some help. During the fight, Rivera was getting the better of URIJAH in the stand-up and appeared to be ahead on the scorecards. But after poking Rivera in the eye with what looked like a rather deep eye poke, Francisco's vision was clearly compromised. While referees will usually step in when someone is hurt with an eye poke, this one went unnoticed. URIJAH FABER took full advantage of this opportunity, swarming Rivera before sinking in a bulldog choke to finish the fight. Unsurprisingly, Rivera attempted to appeal the loss, but the NSAC refused to overturn it. Number 4. JERMAINE de RANDAMIE vs Holly Holm. The headliner of UFC 208 saw former bantamweight champion Holly Holm take on JERMAINE de RANDAMIE, with the winner becoming the first ever women's featherweight champion. Although de RANDAMIE went on to win the fight, a lot of controversy was raised given that JERMAINE had thrown several illegal strikes onto Holly after the buzzer in rounds 2 and 3. One of those punches even knocked out her mouthpiece and left her on wobbly legs. Despite a warning from the referee after the 3rd round, no points were deducted for de RANDAMIE, which could have shifted the scorecards in Holly's favour. Holly Holm went on to appeal the loss, but the commission refused to overturn the decision. Number 3. Greg Hardy vs Ben SOSOLI. Whether it's been intentional or not, Greg Hardy has become no stranger to cheating in his very short and early UFC career. An illegal knee in his UFC debut caused him to lose his first fight in the promotion, and now his latest violation came at UFC on ESPN 6 against Ben SOSOLI. At the end of the 2nd round, Greg Hardy could be seen asking his corner for an inhaler, which is strictly prohibited during a fight. This is mainly due to the fact that an inhaler has the potential to boost your recovery time. Nevertheless, Hardy's corner obliged, much to the confusion of the commentators. Greg Hardy may have gone on to win a unanimous decision, but the result was quickly overturned due to the illegal use of an inhaler. Hardy insisted the inhaler was approved by the commission, but clearly there was a miscommunication somewhere. And to be clear, we aren't saying he cheated intentionally. Looking back, the whole thing was rather odd. Number 2. George St-Pierre vs BJ Penn 2. The main event of UFC 94 featured a highly anticipated super fight between welterweight champion George St-Pierre and lightweight champion BJ Penn. It was the first time in the company's history that two champions would go head to head. As exciting as the matchup was, the fight itself was not without a bit of controversy. George St-Pierre went on to dominate BJ Penn to earn a 4th round stoppage victory. But the win was overshadowed after it was revealed that George St-Pierre's cornerman had rubbed Vaseline onto his back in between rounds. This allowed GSP to slip out of submissions easier than usual. Whether the Vaseline made much of a difference is doubtful, especially considering how lopsided the fight actually turned out, but cheating is still cheating. And the facts remain, applying it onto his back in between rounds should have been prohibited. Number 1. Conor McGregor vs Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's no surprise that the biggest fight in UFC history between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor was filled with at least some controversy. What was a surprise is the amount of cheating that Conor McGregor got away with. Khabib may have gone on to end their grudge match and finish McGregor with a neck crank, but Conor made every attempt possible to prevent that, which included breaking a few rules. During the fight, Conor could be seen grabbing Khabib's shorts, landing multiple 12-6 elbows, inserting fingers and toes into the fence, and even landing an illegal knee onto Khabib. Overall, it didn't do much to affect the outcome, but they were some shady tactics from Conor McGregor nonetheless. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Apart from that, thanks so much for watching guys, and we'll see you on the next video.
Never have a doubt. Do you like me now? Am I good enough now? Should I get more loud till you hear the fucking sound? Oh no, I'm losing my shit again, having to fit again. Man, I'm forgetting when I used to have some friends. I used to play pretend, we all grow up and then hating my phone and trends. I'm about to blow my head, nobody knows I'm dead. Fear I'm a ghost instead, think that I'm close, I get straight comatose in bed. Try to go slow with breath, breathe out my nose and head. Heart doesn't go the trend, faster it goes.